All right, so a lot of progress potentially can be made between now and Monday. President Trump extending that deadline. That's a good thing. You have Vice President J.D. Vance taking a more prominent role. It actually sounds like he may be the one face to face if these talks happen. That is obviously a potential to change maybe some of the dialogue. Christina, I'll start with you. Obviously, they still have Witkoff, they still have Kushner, but adding another face to this, and maybe the fact that, Vance has been, a little bit sort of, wasn't totally on board with this, now is an interesting way to kind of change and shape the way it looks for the Iranians who know, listen, we are getting decimated. Your reaction?
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment of it. The fact that J.D. Vance wasn't, trying to run headlong into this war probably is a good counterbalance to the negotiations that have gone on thus far. He's also the vice president of the United States. President Trump made his position, for the discussion of this war, an official cabinet member, which is really kind of honoring to the Iranians, saying, hey, we're taking this very seriously. I'm putting my #2 guy on this. To make sure that we can get this resolved. So I think it's a good signal to the Iranians that this is very serious. It's not something to be taken lightly. J.D. Vance also has a military background. He was the United States Marine. I believe, according to his earlier statements, that he really does want to see this come to an end. So I think it's a good attempt by the Trump administration to garner some goodwill with Iranians, and I hope it works.
Right. Of course, when you negotiate with terrorists, it's not always a successful outcome. So they're sending potentially all these extra troops. They're ready for anything, right. David. I want to ask you about a report coming in out of Reuters. United States says it is certain to have destroyed a third of Iran's missiles, but another third is damaged, destroyed, or buried. You still have Iran continuing attacks. They may be hiding, conserving some missiles. All of this is a big concern for the Strait of Hormuz. And we know that that is something that everyone is looking at very closely. A couple Pakistani ships are in, but still the Tehran toll booth seems pretty hard to get around, David.
Well, yes. I mean, of course, Iran wants to maintain pressure when it comes to the Straits of Hormuz because this adds pressure domestically. This raises the price of continuing the war. It raises the impression that this is impacting us here at home, which is going to be Iran's main leverage when it comes to the Trump administration. They've admitted, they know this, they can't confront us head on in a conventional sense. So the way that the resistance axis Iran makes war is by putting leverage and pressure on the domestic element in any way it can. We've seen this repeatedly, not just with Iran, but with its proxies between 1985 and 2000, for example. Hezbollah's military attacks against IDF troops in the South Lebanon security zone were really aiming at shaping Israeli consciousness about holding the security zone rather than conventional military victory. And I think we're seeing that here with the Iranians as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the shaping of what's happening at the G7. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in France right now, the G7 foreign ministers meeting. Here's a bit of what he said to reporters there.
I'm here on behalf of the United States of America. I look forward to meeting with them. I don't know what reception I would get from them. I think they should be happy that I'm going. I'm not there to make them happy. I get along with all of them on a personal level. We work with those governments very carefully, but the people I'm interested in making happy are the people of the United States. That's who I work for.
That's the stance. And NATO, obviously President Trump called them paper tiger, cowards. But we know the very strong relationship he has with Mark Rutte and other members of NATO as well. Christina, this should be an interesting day of headlines. What would you be forecasting or looking for, as we've seen them not so excited to step up and help in the war in Iran?
Right. I will be very curious to see their response to Marco Rubio, whether they actually do change their position, offer more help. Marco Rubio, from his statements and the position that he's taken, is basically like, hey, this is where the United States is. This is the position. This is these are the lines in the sand that we've drawn. We know our position. Our unknown is, what are you prepared to do about it, NATO countries? And so it ball's in their court, to kind of come back and demonstrate to the United States that there's a benefit to being allies with them. This administration has been very aggressive in saying, hey, look, we don't know that we're getting a benefit from NATO. And they've kind of shaken up that, and I'm not in any way suggesting they leave NATO. I just mean, they're shaking up that status quo. and we need to see their response. So I think his posture is correct. His attitude seems to be right on target. I appreciate the fact that he remembers he represents the American people, and that's who he wants to please. And we'll see how they respond.